Mastering Studio Tools is the game changer for your LEGO business. In this video, I'll guide you through the essential features like snap, grid, hinge, and collision, so you can design complex 3D LEGO models with ease. By the end, you'll not only recreate official LEGO kits, but also start designing your own creations in 3D. Ready to level up and build like a pro? Let's dive in! Welcome to the second day of training from the BRICKSBIZ program. Today, we're going to learn how to master the main tools from Studio software. This is an extremely important lesson in the course, as it will enable you to model a large number of LEGO MOCs in 3 dimensions. You'll need to pay close attention during this lesson, because it's quite a rich one, and above all, a very important one. So, in this lesson, we're going to familiarize ourselves with Studio's main tools for designing 3D models that are a little more complicated than the ones we had a chance to use yesterday. In this lesson, you will learn how to assemble parts in the 3D model and learn about 3D grid and collisions inside Studio Building Interface. By the end of this lesson, you should be able to design 3D models with angles and be able to reproduce basic official LEGO kits in 3D. So let's get started. Before discovering the tools, let's take another look at LEGO creations. As you may have noticed, LEGO brick creations no longer resemble the monolithic LEGO creations of 50 years ago. The LEGO brand has come a long way, especially in the last 15 years, and now offers a huge variety of brick shapes, some of which you may not even be aware of. Personally, I regularly discover the existence of new LEGO parts that I wasn't aware of before. Today, you can create or reproduce just about anything you can imagine using LEGO bricks. It's simply amazing in terms of creativity. But it sometimes makes 3D models design exercise a little more complex, but not impossible, as you will see during this training course. As I just said earlier, you can model just about anything with software like Studio. And some of Studio's limitations can be overcome by techniques that I will teach you later in the BRICKSBIZ training course. The Studio software offers many tools for designing any type of LEGO model, even those with unconventional angles or using special building techniques. The vast majority of these tools are available from the Studio Toolbar, and that's what we're going to look at today. Let's start by looking at the toolbar located at the top of the building interface. First of all, you'll find buttons for performing actions on the 3D model. A Select button that lets you select parts in the design area of the 3D model in a number of ways. Next comes the Hinge option, which lets you rotate one or more parts in your 3D model. The Move option allows you to perform shifts of a part or of a group of parts within the 3D model with preciseness. The Clone option lets you duplicate a part or group of parts in your 3D model. Then you have the Hide option, which lets you temporarily hide or show one or more parts in the 3D model. The Connect option will then allow you to interconnect certain parts more easily. After the action buttons, there are a few configuration buttons. The Collision button will allow you to activate or deactivate the collision between parts. Studio will give you a visual indicator when two parts overlap in a way that is impossible with real LEGO bricks in real life. The Snap and Grid options will make your life easier when positioning parts on the 3D model. Finally, the toolbar contains 4 options that are not necessarily immediately useful in 3D modeling: Render, Stability, Instruction, and Mosaic. We have already seen the usefulness of the Instruction button, which switches to the Studio Editing Instructions mode. The other buttons will be covered later in the training course. Let's go through each of these tools in more detail, one by one. Let's start with the Selection tool. The first option on the toolbar, the Select tool, allows you, as its name suggests, to select parts within the 3D model. The default selection option is Simple Selection. This is the option enabled when you open a Studio file. When activated, your on-screen cursor will take the form of an arrow. Simple Selection works intuitively in the 3D model. Left-click on a part in the 3D model to select it. The part will be highlighted in blue to indicate that it has been selected. As we saw earlier in the course, you can select several parts in the model by holding down the left mouse button and dragging your cursor. If you click on the arrow at the top right of the Select button in the toolbar, you'll see that Studio offers other selection options. For example, you can select parts by color. This is the second option displayed when you click on the Select button, the one called By Color. If you choose this option, when you click on a part in the 3D model, Studio will select all the parts with exactly the same color in your 3D model. This selection is useful if, for instance, you want to change a particular color in your model to another color. Note that your mouse cursor takes the shape of a small palette when this option is selected. The cursor changes shape in Studio depending on the tool you have chosen. You can then perform a selection by part type. Choose the By Type option from the Select button options on the toolbar, then click on a part in the 3D model. Studio will then select all the parts with exactly the same identifier in your 3D model. For example, all the bricks with dimensions of 2x4. The fourth selection option on the Select button combines selection by part type and by color. Click on a part in the 3D model with this option enabled, and Studio will select all the parts in your 3D model with the same ID and exactly the same color. Finally, the fifth option on the Select button allows you to make a selection by connection. Click on a part in the 3D model once this option has been activated, and Studio will select all the parts that have a connection point with the selected part, i.e. that are touching each other. The Select tool offers a final option, Invert Selection. To use this option, start by selecting one or more parts in your 3D model. By clicking on the Invert Selection option, your selection will be inverted, meaning that all the parts that were not selected will become selected and vice versa within the 3D model. This option can be very useful in certain situations. We'll come back to this feature later in the course. A small word of warning before moving on to the next tool. Please note that selecting parts by color or type does not apply to parts present in submodels of the 3D model. At this stage of the course, I don't think you're familiar with this concept. But don't worry, we'll be coming back to this concept in detail in one of the lessons at the end of the week. I wanted to mention this limitation of the Select tool to people who already have some knowledge of the concept of submodels in Studio. Let's move on to the second toolbar feature. The Hinge tool allows you to rotate your parts within the 3D model. Lego parts can be rotated around 3 axes in the modeling area. You have already had a taste of this functionality by using the arrow keys on your keyboard in one of the first lessons of the course to rotate the bricks in the 3D model. To rotate parts, select the Hinge option from the toolbar. You will notice that the mouse cursor changes. Click on a part in the modeling area. Several arrows, in red, blue, and green color, will appear around the selected part. These arrows show the possible ways you can turn the parts around each axis. To rotate the part, simply click on one of the arrows displayed with the left mouse button. Keep your finger pressed down on the mouse button and move your mouse. The part will rotate in the direction of the selected arrow. Release the mouse button once the part has rotated to the position you want. When you perform a rotation, you can also modify the value of the rotation angle precisely. To do so, click on the little dot located in between colored arrows. Do so, Studio will allow you to type the required angle in a text box which appears right above the select part. The angle is expressed in degrees, and the value must be between 360 degrees for a complete clockwise turn and 360 degrees for a complete anti-clockwise turn. To change this value without typing it, you can also click on the red line embedded in the rotation circle and drag it around the part to rotate your selection to the desired angle. If you select several parts, the rotation via the Hinge tool will apply to all the parts you have selected at the same time. Finally, some parts may have several articulation points. When this is the case, you can choose whether you want to rotate all the parts connected to the left of the part you have selected or all the parts located to the right. When Studio detects multiple hinge points, axis icons appear to let you select a hinge point. Click on the one you want to hinge. The parts will turn around the selected hinge point. The third option on the toolbar allows you to move a part or group of parts. Thanks to this option, you will be able to move precisely parts by shifting them along a specific axis with great precision. We have seen as part of a previous lesson that you can use the arrow keys from your keyboard to move parts within the 3D model. Move option lets you perform the same action, but with a higher control. To use this option, select one or several parts in your 3D model and click on the Move option in the menu. You will notice the appearance from 3 colored arrows pointing in 3 distinct directions. If you click on one arrow with the left button from your mouse and keep your finger pressed on the mouse button, you will be able to shift the selected parts along the axis represented by the arrow. By default, the green arrow is pointing to the top of the part you have selected, the red arrow is pointing to the left, and the blue one is pointing to the right. If you have rotated your part, you will see, for instance, that the green arrow continues to point in the direction of the top of the part and no longer in direction of the top of the 3D model. In case you are disturbed by this, click on the small yellow cube located at the crossroads from the 3 arrows, and the display of the arrow will be conditioned towards the ground of the 3D model. But I must say, I never use this feature. What you aim to do with Move Tool is really to shift part to a specific position, so you will mainly use the arrows that are displayed by Studio for this, without caring about their color. Using Move Tool, you can have a better control over the shifting from your parts. Please keep in mind that the preciseness of the movement is conditioned by the size of the 3D grid from the model, but we'll get back to this point later in the training course. The fourth option on the toolbar allows you to clone a part or a group of parts. To use the tool, select one or more parts in the 3D model and click on the clone button. This will create a copy of the selection that will follow your mouse cursor. You can then move this duplicated part anywhere in the 3D model. Click the left mouse button to release the duplicated part in your 3D model. As long as you don't click the right mouse button or press the escape key on your keyboard, you will get another clone of your part or selection of parts as soon as you have placed the current duplicated part following your mouse cursor. This feature can be very useful when you place the same bricks or groups of bricks in your model several times. You can also copy-paste your selection either by using the keyboard shortcuts Ctrl-C and Ctrl-V on Windows PC or Command-C and Command-V on Mac, or by using the options in the Edit menu at the top of the screen. Now let's look at the next tool in the toolbar. Hide. Hide is an extreme... I'm doing just a quick break in the video to let you know that if you're enjoying this free training, you're going to absolutely love the full BRICKSBIZ training course. BRICKSBIZ full training course, this is more than 25 hours of online content, an exclusive membership to a private Discord community full of business experts, a lifetime access to monthly live sessions, and tons of templates, bonuses, marketing strategies, and automation scripts to turn your passion for Lego bricks into a profitable business. It's completely risk-free to try. You have 14 days to explore the program, and if you're not satisfied, you'll get a 100% reimbursement. No questions asked, though I'm pretty sure you won't need it. So if you are looking for more information, just follow the link that appears underneath this video. I let you get back to the content of this free BRICKSBIZ training course video. Hide is an extremely useful tool in your 3D modeling. Sometimes it is useful to work on your 3D model by hiding one or more parts for a given period. This is where the Hide tool comes in, as it allows you to make the parts you have selected in the Studio 3D modeling area invisible. To use the Hide tool, first select the part or group of parts you wish to hide. Then click on the Hide button in the toolbar. The parts you have selected will no longer be visible in the 3D model. You'll notice that the mouse cursor has changed again. It now represents a crossed-out eye. You can then continue to hide other parts still visible in the 3D model simply by clicking on them. When parts are hidden in the 3D model, an indication appears in the top right-hand corner of the modeling area to let you know how many parts are hidden and to make them reappear if you wish. To make your hidden parts reappear, simply press the Show All button. The hidden parts will reappear in the 3D model. Note that you will not be able to select which parts you want to reappear. You can decide to hide the model parts one by one, but all the hidden parts will be displayed at once. Now let's look at the Snap option in the toolbar. When you're creating your 3D model, it can be handy to have your Lego parts fit together as they would in real life, without you having to be ultra precise in your positioning with the mouse. That's the purpose of the Snap option in the toolbar. When this option is enabled, the Snap icon appears in blue. When the option is deactivated, the icon is displayed in white. Most of the time, I recommend that you activate this option, which will save you precious time in your 3D modeling. When you move a part with the Snap option enabled, thus in blue, the selected part will try to fit in automatically with the other parts of the 3D model located near your mouse cursor. The Snap option can also be used to slightly reorient parts so that they are adapted to their destination. Studio will slightly rotate the part you have selected on your cursor so that it fits together in much the same way as real Lego bricks would. The magic of this tool is that it also works with a group of parts, so you can fit a whole set of parts together in one go onto another Lego part in the model. Please note that the Snap option does not take hidden parts into account when fitting your parts together. This can be convenient in some situations. Just next to the Snap button is a button called Grid. This button allows you to define the level of precision for placing your parts on the model. It will affect the accuracy of the Snap option as well as the accuracy of your part movements. Unless you have a weak hardware configuration for your computer, I personally recommend that you set the Grid option to Fine Grid. This will give you the most accurate part nesting possible in Studio. Personally, I set this parameter to Fine Grid, and I never change it. One of the most complementary functions of the Snap tool is collision management. Collision detection between parts is activated when the collision icon in the toolbar is red. If this icon is white, collision detection is deactivated. When the collision option is activated, which is when the collision icon is displayed in red, parts on the 3D model that collide are displayed in wireframes. In this mode, you will see that Studio will prevent you from positioning new parts in your 3D model if they overlap with existing parts. When the collision option is deactivated, which is when the collision icon is displayed in white in the toolbar, the parts can overlap. You may notice that Studio does not display any wireframes in this mode. When collisions are enabled, the Snap tool will be much more effective. The parts you are trying to add to your 3D model will somehow jump straight to the right place on the model. Most of the time, I recommend activating the collision option at the same time as the Snap option. This makes life easier when you're doing 3D modeling. It is sometimes possible that a collision detected in the 3D model does not exist with real bricks, or conversely, that a collision that would exist with real Lego bricks is not detected within the 3D model. In this case, remember to deactivate collision and the Snap tool temporarily. I advise you to reactivate them once you've successfully placed your parts. You'll see that Studio doesn't prevent you from doing this, even if the parts you've placed overlap. This is the last tool we're going to look at before moving on to our first practical exercise of the lesson, the Connect tool. It is sometimes necessary to nest parts that are more difficult to manage with the mouse. In this case, we're going to use the Connect tool in the toolbar, which allows you to interconnect two very specific connection points between two parts. To use this tool, first click on the Connect option in the toolbar, then click on a part in the 3D model, and the available connection points for the part are displayed, represented by blue cubes or cylinders. Choose one of the blue cubes or cylinders, then move your mouse cursor. Studio displays a green line between the blue connector you have chosen and the mouse cursor. Position your cursor over the Lego part you want to connect to. The compatible connection points for this part will also be displayed in blue. Click on one of them. Studio will then move the original part according to the chosen connection points. Unlike the Snap tool, the Connect tool doesn't worry about collisions, so it's up to you to align the parts perfectly. Alright, after this very content-rich first part of the video, let's move on to our first practical exercise, which will familiarize yourself with the tools we've just discovered in Studio. Open the Studio software and go to Help, then click on Tutorial. I'm going to start you off with the short tutorial included in the software. Studio will guide you through the construction of a little Lego snail. Please pause this video and click on the blue Start Tutorial button to launch the Studio tutorial. Now that you've done this first practical exercise to familiarize yourself with Studio tools, let's move on to a second, slightly more difficult exercise. We're going to reproduce an official commercial Lego kit in 3D, the police car. Open the Studio software and create a new empty 3D model by clicking on File, New. Go to File, Import, Import Official Lego Set. Type 60312 in the Set Number input field and choose the As Palette option in the Import field. Click on the blue Import button. Studio will create a new palette with all the parts needed to build the police car, i.e., all the parts present in the Lego box if you had bought this kit. The parts are visible in the building palette area on the left of your screen. Then download the building instructions for this model from the Lego website. The download link is displayed just below this video. Now it's your turn. Open the police car building instructions on your computer. Follow the building instructions, but instead of creating the car with real Lego bricks, add them to your 3D model. To make life easier for you in this exercise, all the parts you need are available in the building palette. You may notice that when you add one of the parts from the palette to your 3D model, it will disappear from the palette, or the number of parts of this type displayed at the top right of each part in the palette will decrease. This system works in much the same way as you would if you were building with real Lego bricks. Once it's installed on your model, you can't use it anywhere else. So it's your turn to play. I invite you to pause this video and do the exercise. If you find this exercise too difficult, you can restart this video and watch me perform the exercise live. However, I would really advise you to try it out for yourself. It's by mastering the Studio tool that you'll achieve your goal of creating professional building instructions that you'll be able to monetize. Enjoy 3D building and see you in a couple of minutes. Before we finish this very dense and rich lesson, I'd like to suggest a third and final practical exercise. To continue familiarizing yourself with the tools available in Studio, I suggest you start designing your own Lego creations in 3D. At this stage, you already have basic knowledge that will enable you to start designing your own creations in 3D. So open the Studio software and create a new empty template. Start designing the 3D model of one of your own Lego creations, one of those you selected in the previous lesson. Don't worry if you don't manage to perform certain actions. At this stage of the training course, there's still a lot to learn about Studio to achieve what you want. You will learn how to fill these gaps in the next lessons. There's no need to model your Lego creation in its entirety either. You'll have plenty of time to do that in the next lessons. But it's motivating to start making your first draft 3D model for your own creations. Share your first draft 3D model and your first impressions of your progress with the rest of the BRICKSBIZ community by clicking on the forum link just below this video. Please pause this video and I see you in some minutes. Before moving on to the next video, make sure you understand how to use the different 3D modeling tools offered by Studio. At this stage, you should have understood how to use Studio's main selection and rotation tools, collisions, and the snap tool for automatically nesting parts. Make sure you've completed the 3 practical exercises in this video before going on to the next one. In the next video, I'll be teaching you a whole bunch of additional techniques that will enable you to go even further in modeling your Lego MOCs and to significantly speed up the time you spend designing 3D models. Have a great time doing 3D modeling, and I see you in the next video. Bye! This video was taken from the BRICKSBIZ training course. If you'd like to discover the full richness of this training course and learn how to create and develop a business around your Lego, you can follow the link that appears just below this video. You'll be able to join a community of experts and generate your first dollars in less than 4 weeks. As for me, I'll see you in a new free video on the BRICKSBIZ YouTube channel. You can watch the video by clicking on the link on the screen.